Greetings, my name is Scott Johnson, and I am here to talk about the intersectionality of violence. So what is the intersectionality of violence? Why is this important? Are there any examples of this concept? How do we use this intersectionality of violence to defend the rights of people in their environment? We will be looking at two case studies of this concept. Intersectionality, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is the interconnected nature of social categorizations, such as race, class, and gender, creating interdependent, overlapping systems of identity and concept. Examples include violence towards women, violence towards the environment, violence towards indigenous peoples, and more. The Green Belt movement is one emblematic example. Taking Root is a film about Wangari Maathai's journey as a member of the native Kenyan Kikuyu community who grew up caring for the land. The Green Belt movement not only planted trees to reforest the country of Kenya, but this movement was a response to the violent acts of colonialism. Colonized by Britain in 1895, the colony of Kenya served as an agrarian colony, growing coffee and tea as cash crops for the British Empire. British troops and settlers pursued colonial approaches to dominate the local people's practices and customs. This colonialism led to the deforestation of the landscape for agriculture, the razing of villages, and the abandonment of the Kenyan culture. Ignorant and prideful, the British compelled local peoples to abandon their belief structures on religion and heritage. Despite gaining independence from Britain in 1963, the imprint of Western capitalism is still nevertheless present in the country of Kenya. Founded in 1977, the Green Belt movement aimed to restore the livelihoods of the Kenyan people through the acts of reforesting their country. The colonial deforestation for agriculture led to the significant decrease in trees to be used for firewood, construction of buildings, and the disruption of the water cycle. This reforestation allowed citizens to begin to practice their local customs of living off the land again. After planting more than 20 million trees, the Green Belt movement has helped restore these cultural practices. However, Wangari Maathai, the founder of this movement, claims this movement is more than just planting trees. It is about empowering women. Kenya's Green Belt movement represents this intersectionality of violence because of colonialism's near wipeout of the Kenyan culture. The changing landscape from forest to farmland not only harmed the environment, stimulating gradual desertification, but also harmed women and their livelihoods. Wangari Maathai highlights this concept in the Green Belt movement because she claims that the concurrent struggles for justice, women's rights, and the environment are all tied together and that they interact so closely that you can't have one without the other. Further, Maathai claims that governments that oppress people are the same ones that are not sensitive to their livelihoods. Wangari Maathai's work in the Green Belt movement has led her to achieve the Nobel Peace Prize in 2004, as well as many other honors, including the Goldman Prize, the Right Livelihood Award, and the United Nations Africa Prize for Leadership. Another notable example of the interdisciplinary of violence is the ecocide of the Mesopotamian marshes. Ecocides are commonly defined as genocides towards an environmental subject and the people who inhabit that ecosystem. The marsh Arabs are the main indigenous peoples who inhabit these marshes and have faced significant environmental and cultural violence. The marsh Arabs, or commonly known as the Madan, are indigenous peoples who have a profound relationship with these marshes. The Madan use marsh reeds, which dominate the landscape, in innumerable ways for the construction of their structures, domestic goods, and in use of agricultural practices. Structures built by the Madan are made only out of reeds and mud found in the marshes. The Madan pursue artisan methods to construct all the components of their structures, from the binding of reeds into large columns tied by reeds and the weaving of reeds for walls and doors. The Madan understand the land through their cultural heritage and religious practices, which are held in these such structures. The Madan guide their belief structures around this harmonious existence with the land, thereby caring for its sustainability and management. This wisdom has guided them to denounce the practices they viewed as threatening to their own livelihood. In 1991, the Marsh Arabs joined in the revolt against dictator Saddam Hussein to reduce the violence within Iraq. Furious in his response, Hussein decided to drain the marshes in order to bring these highly independent people under his control. He achieved this through the construction of large dams diverting both the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. The once lush marshes became salt barren, displacing the marsh Arabs from their land. The Hussein administration's damming of the rivers is an interdisciplinary act of violence because of the devastation of the ecosystems and the devastation of the marsh Arabs. With the fall of Hussein's regime, efforts by environmentalists, peacemakers, and indigenous leaders have led to the deconstruction of these dams, letting the waters of both the Tigris and Euphrates rivers flow once again in their natural path. However, in 2016, these efforts have led to the Mesopotamian marshes to become listed as a UNESCO heritage site. With this title, Mesopotamian marshes are protected from future negative ecosystem and cultural violence because of the marsh's important historical and scientific significance as the fabled area for the first civilizations on Earth. With these protections in place under the law, around more than 50% of the Mesopotamian marshes' spatial area has been restored. However, the damage from this ecocide is predicted to leave the marshes with permanent damage, not able to reach its prior beauty and potential. Likewise, the damage from this ecocide has led to a deep loss in the culture of the Medan. The Greenbelt movement and the ecocide in the Mesopotamian marshes demonstrate this interdisciplinary of violence, crossing the many dimensions of violence towards women, indigenous peoples, and the environment. We must understand this concept to protect our planet.